On today's Ask Zach, we're going to look at one of the coolest beat up old 52 Teles, an honest road worn. Hello, friends, and welcome to Ask Zach. Today, I have the great honor of having one of the coolest beat up, heavily tanned 52 Teles I've ever had the pleasure of getting to hold and play. And this 52 Tele is owned by Andy Talamantes, great blues guitarist and guitar repairman living here in Nashville. And today we're going to tell the story of this guitar and how it got to looking this beautiful beat up way. Before we dive in, I just have to say thank you to my Patreon members who are the engine that keep this show going. I'm grateful for them. And if you want to find out more, there's a link in the description. Also, there's tip jar information. You can do super thanks. There's Ask Zach merch. I just appreciate you supporting the show because that is what keeps this show going. And I appreciate it. All right. So first off, one of the great things that I've enjoyed about doing this show is just the amount of people that I've been able to connect with all over the world, but even just here in Nashville that I've been able to connect with that I wouldn't have otherwise, and that have these really cool instruments and stories to tell. And I love telling stories. So when Andy Talamantes reached out to me and said that he had a 52 Tele that he wanted to show me, and that his first wife had been one of Jimmy Bryant's daughter, and he had some Jimmy Bryant stories. I said, yeah, let's meet for lunch. And so we met at this little place called Maniacs in Franklin, Tennessee, which is one of those kind of less processed chicken strip kind of place. And so we had some chicken strips, and I think Andy had a chicken sandwich. And he started telling me stories about Jimmy Bryant, and which was great. And then he pulled out this guitar, and it just kind of blew my mind, because I just love when the finish does interesting things with UV, and when you get some really interesting colors. And this is a wonderful color, and the headstock is so browned. And yet you have, this area where the decal is, where, it hasn't done that. And one of the reasons I love this look right here is I remember buying Roy Buchanan's second album, as a teenager, and just loving the back cover because it showed him holding his Tele, and it had, a similar look, though not this dark. And I always thought that was a really, really cool look on an old Tele. So, we're having all these, conversations about the guitar. He tells me the backstory on it, tells me about, crazy stories about Jimmy Bryant, who of course had a traumatic childhood, had an alcohol problem, and, just had kind of a hard life, and, of course was an amazingly talented guitar player. And then, unfortunately, he was not really playing Teles when Andy knew him. He was playing, he had that red Gibson, I don't know if it was a 335 or 355 that he was playing at that time. And then he had like some Magnetones and a Murph guitar and some other things that he played. But, his playing was still, pretty undiminished at that point, especially in the earlier 70s. But, we started talking about this Tele. He told me about it, and then he said, if you want to borrow it, you can. And I said, absolutely. Can I do an episode on it? He said, absolutely. So thank you to Andy. So here's a little bit about Andy. Of course, he was born out in California in Santa Monica. He gigged and worked in aerospace some. Of course, was married to Jimmy Bryant, one of Jimmy Bryant's daughters, for a while. And he, was and is a gigging, blues guitarist. And by 1997, he started playing with a cat named Smokey Wilson that was on the Rounder record label. I think he was actually on Bullseye, which was kind of like a division of Rounder, or was being distributed by Rounder, whatever the case may be. And so when he started playing with Smokey, Smokey said, "I have a guitar I need you to do some work on." And so he pulled out this guitar that was completely covered in black soot. In fact, it looked black. And so Andy took the guitar, he got a warm washcloth, and he started wiping it down, and he soon found a spaghetti logo. And when he took the neck off, it ended up being June of '52 and signed by Tadeo Gomez. So yeah, a real deal Blackguard underneath the soot. Unfortunately, the guitar had a fair amount of damage. The tuners were either bent, or a lot of them were missing their buttons, and the bridge pickup was dead. The electronics were covered in corrosion, and the neck pickup was gone because the pickguard had been routed, and it had this big Japanese, like 60s era pickup that was just hanging in there, and it wasn't even done right. And so here's a shot of the ugly routing that was done underneath the pickguard, and plus you can see some of the less aged finish from under the guard. So you're probably asking the question, how did the guitar get so dark? Well, the guitar was given to Smokey by a guy named Spider-Man. So I'm guessing this wasn't, the real Spider-Man, which, is there a real Spider-Man? And it's like, which actor are we talking about? No, Spider-Man apparently was a guy who worked on cars in the Watts area, and he had a garage. And hanging in the garage was this guitar. And so it was hanging by like a coat hanger, and it was in a window. And so that's where it got all of the wear. And that's also where you get this interesting part, because apparently it was not hanging just straight in the sunlight, but there was just enough shadow from the lip of the bridge that this area did not get the full sunlight. And so that's, really, really cool. Of course, you still have, a bit of the outline of the bridge cover, as some people call it, the ashtray. And yeah, it's just a really cool guitar. Of course, you've got some replaced saddles here. These are titanium. This is a Seymour Duncan Antiquity from the 90s that Andy put in there. And this is a pickup that Andy wound himself, because of course the original neck pickup was gone. He did take the original dead bridge pickup and the wiring and he put them in a bag. And so when he gave the guitar back to Smokey, he had a bag of of parts and said, don't ever throw this away. We know that's going to end badly. So Andy played with Smokey for a couple of years, and then unfortunately Smokey had a stroke and retired from performing. A couple of years later, in 2006, Andy was visiting with Smokey and asked him if he would be willing to sell this guitar to him, and they agreed on a price, and Andy bought it and took it home. And just a couple of days later, Smokey's wife called back and she said, "I'm sorry, but Smokey wants the guitar back." And of course, Andy's a good guy. He didn't, say it's a deal's a deal or anything like that. So he took the guitar back, but there was a promise that if he ever did, decide to sell the guitar, that he would sell it to Andy. So apparently, Smokey had some sentimental value attached to the guitar because of Spider-Man or who knows what, but he just couldn't, even though he might not have been able to really play it, he just couldn't, not have the guitar with him. So fast forward a bit more, we get to 2015, and Smokey Wilson passes away. And after that, Andy contacts the widow, and the widow remembers, and she says that, you know, she will sell him the guitar. So he goes down there to get it, and she hands him the guitar and says, "Where's the bag with the parts in it?" And she said, "Oh, they were covered in rust. I threw them away." So there went the original bridge pickup and the wiring. So that was gone. But he, still got a really, really great Tele that, again, after he got it, he had it refretted by Glazer's shop. And it's just a really great Blackguard. I've played a lot of Blackguards, and I have to say, this is one of the better sounding ones. And this is not even original pickup. I mean, this is a Seymour Duncan antiquity. This guitar just has a really nice compression to it, and it's fat, has a really good beefy neck, but it's not crazy big, it just has a really great feeling neck. It's had a good refret, plays good. Modern wiring on it, so both. Here's the neck. And he has, a lot of people like to have the neck pickup lower in volume because you kind of get a better two pickup sound, by doing that. But so really, really great sounding guitar with a really great story. Just a good mix of flathead and Phillips screws. So you can see that, like, the bridge is mounted with Phillips screws, but then it's got flathead screws holding the bridge in. And, Phillips here, straight head here, flat heads holding the pick guard on. Yeah, lots of, flat head on the string tree. So, flat heads holding the tuners in. Yeah, and Phillips on the neck plate. So, yeah, really, really cool guitar. So now, for comparison's sake, let's pull out a clean 1953. So another friend let me borrow this clean 1953 Tele, so then you can really get a look at the difference in the coloring on the headstock and the coloring on the body. So yeah, and let's hear this 53 while we got it. Now this 53 is pretty much all original. Obviously the switch tip has been replaced, and you have the addition of the less, the little letters there. But otherwise, it's even got the original tiny frets on it, which frankly I really don't like. But I'm gonna do my best to play this thing because I just really don't like the little frets. But here we go. Let's see. we've got the, of course, this is wired just like it was, originally, where you have bridge pickup, neck pickup, and then you have the mud sound, which, of course, the mud sound. Okay, enough of that. Here's the neck pickup by itself in the middle position. Nice sounding neck. Then one of the fun tricks is to do like the strap thing where you balance the selector switch, and if you do it just right, you can get the two pickups together. Let's see. There you go. Great sounding guitar. If I were going to play this thing, which is not mine to begin with, so it's kind of a moot point, but yeah, I'd want bigger frets on the thing. But yeah, really, really cool guitar. So yeah, fun to be able to do a comparison, of a all original 53 with a very road-worn 52, also with some replaced parts. Also, I forgot to mention on this, one of the really cool spots on this is right around the strap button here, where I don't know if that was something on a strap or some kind of strap lock or what happened here, but it's got a cool mark there. Also, this guitar has a split in it. So it's right here. And so here's where, and it's along the seam of where the wood was, the pieces of wood were glued together. So along this seam, it's cracked and it's split. And so, it goes, all the way to the other side. However, it has not moved in many, many years, and it's kind of a hard fix because the wood has swelled and such. So it's not, you can't really just clamp the body back together and put some glue in there at this point. So it'd have to get worse, as it were. So yeah, so I have to thank Andy for letting me borrow this guitar. Titanium saddles, which sound really good. Again, one of the better sounding Blackguards I've played. Really nice instrument, and yeah, thank you to Andy. And also thanks to one of my buddies for letting me borrow this 53. That's really nice to be able to have an example that's pretty clean. It does have some fretboard wear there, and there's some wear on the back of the neck, but this one's pretty darn clean. Even has the original case to it that's been covered with some tape and like wood paneling or something. But anywho, all right guys, well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, this look at a real hardcore road-worn 52 Tele, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.